Ever notice how you can eat a normal-looking meal, then suddenly your brain feels like it's wading through mud? You're not lazy, and it's not just food coma. In many cases, that fog is a predictable reaction to how the meal was built and how your blood sugar responded. When glucose rises fast, your body answers with insulin to move that glucose out of the blood. If the rise is sharp, the correction can be sharp too. That swing can leave you feeling sleepy, scattered, and oddly unmotivated. But blood sugar is only part of it. Meal size, alcohol, hydration, and even how quickly you eat can stack the deck toward fog. The good news is you can usually spot the pattern. And once you can predict it, you can change it without complicated rules. Let's break down the most common causes of brain fog after eating, starting with the blood sugar roller coaster that catches so many people off guard. Moving to slide 2. First, what does brain fog after eating usually feel like? Most people describe slowed thinking, trouble focusing, sleepiness, irritability, and a weird drop in drive. It can also show up as craving something sweet right after you ate. Even if the meal was big, that's a clue your blood sugar may have dipped after a spike. Another clue is timing. If the fog hits within 30 to 90 minutes, that often points toward a fast-digesting meal. If it hits later, like 2 to 3 hours after, that can look more like a delayed dip or a meal that was heavy enough to slow digestion. Also note the difference between pleasantly full and stuffed. Feeling stuffed tends to pull blood flow and attention toward digestion and away from mental sharpness. So before changing anything, get clear on your personal pattern, what you ate, how fast, and when the fog arrived. Moving to slide 3. Here's the core blood sugar story. When you eat carbs, they break down into glucose, which enters the bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin, which helps move glucose into cells for energy or storage. If the meal is mostly refined carbs or liquid sugar, glucose can rise quickly. Your body responds quickly too. In some people, insulin pushes glucose down fast, and you feel a crash. That crash doesn't have to be dramatic to affect your brain. Even a moderate drop can feel like mental static, yawning, and poor concentration. Studies on glycemic response show that the same meal can create different spikes in different people, based on sleep, stress, fitness, and gut factors. So it's not about blaming carbs. It's about the speed and size of the rise, and whether the meal has enough protein, fiber, and fat to slow the curve. Smooth curves usually feel better than steep ones. Moving to slide 4. One of the biggest triggers is the naked carb meal, carbs without enough protein, fiber, or fat. Think cereal, toast and jam, a muffin, white rice alone, or a big bowl of pasta with very little protein. These foods digest quickly, especially when they're finely milled or cooked soft. The result is a rapid glucose rise, then a correction. Another common version is the sweet coffee breakfast. A flavored latte plus a pastry can spike glucose, then leave you foggy and hungry again. The fix is not extreme. You're simply building breaks into the meal. Add protein like eggs, Greek yogurt, chicken, tofu, or beans. Add fiber like vegetables, berries, or lentils. Add healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, or avocado. You can still eat carbs. You're just changing the delivery system, so your brain gets steadier fuel instead of a quick surge and drop. Moving to slide 5. Portion size is another overlooked cause. Even a balanced meal can create fog if it's simply too big for your current activity level. A large meal demands more digestion, more blood flow to the gut, and a stronger hormonal response. That can feel like heaviness, sleepiness, and slower thinking. This is especially noticeable at lunch when you still need to perform. There's also a practical issue. Big portions often mean more total carbs, even if the carbs are healthy. A huge bowl of brown rice and beans can still be a large glucose load. The goal isn't tiny meals. It's finding the portion that leaves you satisfied, but still mentally sharp. A simple test is to stop at comfortably full, then check how you feel 45 minutes later. If you're consistently foggy after large meals, try shifting some calories earlier or later, or splitting one large meal into 2 smaller ones. Moving to slide 6. How you combine foods matters too, especially with high-fat, high-carb meals. Fat slows stomach emptying, which can delay the glucose peak. That sounds good, but it can also create a long, dragged-out blood sugar rise that lasts for hours. Think pizza, fries, burgers, creamy pasta, or pastries. You may feel okay at first, then foggy later, and sometimes hungry again even though you ate a lot. High-fat meals also tend to be very calorie-dense, which can amplify the heavy feeling. The takeaway is not that fat is bad. It's that the combination of lots of fat plus lots of refined carbs can be uniquely destabilizing for energy and focus. A practical approach is to keep one side moderate. If the meal is higher in fat, choose slower carbs and add vegetables. If the meal is higher in carbs, keep added fats lighter and prioritize protein. Moving to slide 7. Eating speed sounds trivial, but it changes physiology. When you eat quickly, you tend to overshoot fullness before your brain gets the signal. That usually means a larger meal than you intended. Fast eating can also lead to bigger glucose excursions, partly because you're delivering a lot of carbs into the system at once. Slower eating gives your gut hormones time to respond, and it often improves portion control without counting anything. Another piece is chewing. Less chewing means larger particles, which can change digestion and how quickly nutrients hit the bloodstream. A simple habit is to build a first 5 minutes rule. For the first 5 minutes, slow down on purpose. Put the fork down between a few bites. Take a sip of water. If you're eating at your desk, pause work while you eat. It's not about being perfect. It's about reducing the speed-related spike and the accidental overeating that often drives fog. Moving to slide 8. Hydration and electrolytes can quietly influence how you feel after meals. If you're mildly dehydrated, your blood volume is lower, and you can feel more tired and headachy in general. Then a meal adds another demand. Digestion requires fluid and circulation. Some people interpret that as brain fog from food, when it's really food plus low hydration. Sodium also matters. If you eat very low-salt meals, sweat a lot, or drink a lot of plain water without electrolytes, you can feel washed out. On the other hand, very salty restaurant meals can make you feel puffy and sluggish too, especially if you're not drinking enough. The practical takeaway is to check basics before blaming a specific food. Start the day with water. Include fluids with meals. And if you're active, consider whether you need electrolytes from food sources like soups, salted meals, or mineral-rich options. Small adjustments here can noticeably change post-meal clarity. Moving to slide 9. Now let's talk about alcohol, because it's a common mystery fog trigger. Alcohol can disrupt sleep quality, and poor sleep makes your glucose response worse the next day. Alcohol also affects the liver, which helps regulate blood sugar between meals. Depending on the context, alcohol can contribute to both higher and lower blood sugar patterns. A sugary cocktail can spike glucose. Alcohol later can suppress the liver's glucose output, which can contribute to a dip. Even without dramatic blood sugar changes, alcohol is a nervous system depressant, so that lunch with a beer or the dinner with wine can create a real cognitive slowdown. Another factor is dehydration, since alcohol increases fluid loss. If you notice fog after meals that include alcohol, the simplest experiment is to separate variables. Try the same meal without alcohol and compare. If the fog improves, you found a powerful lever without needing to overhaul your whole diet. Moving to slide 10. Food sensitivities and intolerances can also create post-meal brain fog, but they're often misunderstood. An intolerance is not the same as an allergy. Lactose intolerance, for example, can cause bloating and discomfort, and the stress of that can make you feel foggy. Some people report brain fog with certain fermentable carbs, often called FODMAPs, because they can increase gas and gut distension. There's also the possibility of celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which should be evaluated properly if symptoms are significant. The key is to look for a consistent pattern, the same ingredient, the same reaction, multiple times. Random one-offs are less convincing. Also, don't forget the dose. Many people tolerate small amounts but not large ones. If you suspect a trigger, the cleanest approach is a short, structured elimination and reintroduction, ideally with professional guidance. That helps you avoid unnecessary restriction, while still identifying what actually affects your clarity. Moving to slide 11. Your baseline state before the meal matters more than most people think. If you're stressed, underslept, or you've had a lot of caffeine, your body is already running on higher cortisol and adrenaline. Those hormones change glucose regulation and can make you more reactive to the same meal. Sleep restriction in particular is linked in studies to worse insulin sensitivity, meaning glucose stays higher for longer.
That can translate into a heavier, foggier feeling after eating.
Stress also changes digestion.
Some people get slowed digestion and feel weighed down.
Others get rapid digestion and feel shaky. So if you're trying to troubleshoot brain fog, don't only audit the plate, audit the day. Ask, how was sleep? How was stress? Did I skip breakfast? Did I overdo caffeine? Often the best meal fix is actually a sleep fix, or adding a real breakfast with protein so lunch doesn't hit like a truck. Moving to slide 12. Let's make this practical with a simple anti-fog meal framework.
Start with protein as the anchor. For many people, that's around a palm-sized portion, adjusted for body size and goals. Next, add fiber, ideally from non-starchy vegetables, beans, or whole fruit.
Then add carbs based on your needs and timing. If you're sitting for hours after, choose slower carbs like oats, quinoa, lentils, or potatoes with the skin, and keep the portion moderate. Add fat, but treat it like a dial, not a free-for-all. Finally, consider order. Some studies suggest eating vegetables and protein before starch can reduce the glucose spike. You can also add a short walk. 10 minutes after eating often improves post-meal glucose and alertness. None of this requires perfection. You're just building meals that deliver steady energy to the brain, instead of a fast surge followed by a slump. Moving to slide 13. Now, how do you troubleshoot without guessing? Use a quick 3-day experiment. Keep breakfast and lunch as consistent as possible, then change one variable at a time. Day 1, keep your usual meal but add protein and fiber. Day 2, keep the same meal but reduce the portion by about 20%. Day 3, keep the meal but add a 10-minute walk after. Track only 3 things: when you ate, when fog started, and how strong it felt on a 1 to 10 scale. Also note any alcohol, poor sleep, or unusual stress. This is enough data to see patterns without becoming obsessive. If you find that any change reliably improves clarity, you've found your lever. If nothing changes, consider that the cause may be outside the meal, like sleep, iron status, thyroid issues, medication side effects, or other medical factors that require a clinician's input. The goal is clarity, not self-blame. Moving to slide 14. Let's wrap it up with the big idea. Brain fog after eating is often a mismatch between the meal and your body's current context: sleep, stress, activity, and portion size. The most common driver is a fast blood sugar rise followed by a drop, especially from refined carbs eaten alone. But big meals, high-fat plus high-carb combinations, fast eating, dehydration, and alcohol can all contribute. Start with the easiest wins. Add protein and fiber, slow down the first few minutes, and keep lunch portions comfortable. If you want one simple habit that helps many people, it's a short walk after meals. If you try these changes and the fog is severe, persistent, or comes with other symptoms, it's worth discussing with a healthcare professional. If you found this useful, subscribe for more practical nutrition breakdowns without the hype. And comment with your pattern. Do you get brain fog more from a sweet breakfast or from a heavy lunch? A or B? This information is not a substitute for medical advice.